budgeting feels like the B word you'd rather avoid, you are not alone.
You're listening to Overwhelmed Working Woman, the podcast that helps you be more calm and more productive by doing less. I'm your host, Michelle Gauthier, a former overwhelmed working woman and current life coach. On this show, we unpack the stress and pressure that today's working woman experiences. And in each episode, you'll get a strategy to bring more calm, ease, and relaxation to your life.
Hi, friend. Thanks for joining today. Today, I'm joined by Budget Besties, Shayna and Vanessa, and they are two real-life friends who turned their own money overwhelm into a simple, beautiful system that actually works. If you listen to me talk about my review of 2025, one of the areas that I want to focus on is paying more attention to my money, where it's going, where it should be going, and just have a really easy system. So I was really excited to have these two on as guests. The subject of money and budgeting can be overwhelming. To me, it always feels like it's not that complicated. There's just a lot to do and a lot of places to check and know. But when you listen today, you'll discover why budgeting has felt so hard in the past, and good news, how it's not your fault, how to create a calm, automatic system that tells your money where to go, and the concept of a spending account that gives you freedom and control. If you've ever felt like I make decent money, but I have nothing to show for it, or I make decent money, but I just don't really know that much about where my money is going, this conversation is going to feel great to you. Let's dig in. Thank you so much, Budget Besties, for joining me today. I'm so excited to talk to you. You guys can't see this because this is audio only, but we all showed up in some version of hot pink. So thank you, Shayna and Vanessa. And I'm excited for you to help us make our money feel calm. And my personal goal for this interview is to motivate myself to have a budget and stick to it. Because it's like I want to, but then I just don't stick with it. And so no pressure, but I need you to fix that throughout the
no problem. I love how you have a personal motive here. This is fantastic.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
honestly, yes. Thank you for having us on. We're really excited to talk about the B word. We're going to help you because what I heard you say is I want to budget, but I also don't want to budget. And that's what we're here for.
Our system is that kind of system.
Yeah.
So we can't wait to talk about it.
Perfect. Okay, so please start off by telling me, I just asked them before we started recording, were you guys already besties before you started this business? So I know that is true, but tell me how surely you didn't grow up as besties and graduate college and say, let's start this business. So tell me how you got here and what you do.
Yeah, so we met at the YMCA working out together when our boys were 4, and they are now 17. So we've been friends for a while. But we started teaching FPU, which is Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University class, together. And we realized when we were teaching that, because we're both financially wired, we love all things money, budget, spreadsheet nerds, like we're all about that.
Nerds. Yeah.
Super nerds. And so when we were doing that class, one of the instructions is to make a budget. And we realized that nobody actually knew how to do that. The expectation was set that you knew how to make a budget, you knew the ebbs and flows of creating a budget, but that wasn't actually part of the course. And so we decided to really focus on what that means for people and how to create a budget that they can stick to, that they love, and that truly allows them to be bougie on a budget.
And what were you doing before this? Before you became the Budget Besties?
Yeah, we were, like Vanessa said, we met when the boys were 4. We were doing life together. We paused from work and did life together while they were young. And that's what we were like Vanessa will always say, we were going to the library, free reading events, we're going to the vacation Bible schools, going to the beach, like trying to figure out now, fast forward now, that was really good because there's no time. There's no extra, like anything. We are now your exact avatar, like the overwhelmed working woman. And so we have been doing everything we're doing to help serve us, who we are now and who we were then, to make the budgeting like super simple, super easy. And we were learning everything that we implement now back then.
Yeah, the book that we both read was The Total Money Makeover that Dave Ramsey put out a long time ago. And I think we learned how to do debt differently. And what you hear is the way you're supposed to tackle debt and the way that you're supposed to be living and all this. And I remember going through that, being super stressed, thinking, oh my gosh, like my hair was falling out as my house turning gray. Like it was just a moment that I didn't love so much. And then when her and I came together to create this business and we were working with our clients, they did not want to live like that. And we totally got it because I'd been there. And so when we were creating their budgets, we figured out a way to allow them to go on a date night, take their family to Chick-fil-A, go to the fall festival, and then, hey, also you can pay off your debt. You can save for Christmas, go take that vacation, but also you're paying on debt. So it was just finding the middle ground of what we did not want to do and what they were told they were supposed to be doing when they create a budget. And we were little rebels on that and found a wonderful, lovely way to budget that's automatic, that's easy, that's simple, that just allows them to the freedom to spend, truly.
Okay, that's so awesome. So you took your own experience and turned it into something doable. And as you can imagine, this whole audience listening is overwhelmed and short on time. And I think it would be wonderful if you could tell us all your secrets. What should we do to not hate budgeting anymore? And so many of the people who listen to this show have great jobs and they're working so hard, and people will tell me it's all gone. Everything's so expensive. I have nothing to show for it, even though I'm working so hard and I don't really have the time to think about it or how to fix that. So what should the listener and also me do about that?
So we know that the budget is the B word, and we understand like what you're saying. But what we want them to understand first and foremost is no one ever taught you how to budget. And that's why it feels this overwhelming, insurmountable thing that I don't. And truly all you've ever heard about budgeting is it has to be restrictive. We have to say no, all of that kind of stuff. And what you said is our people, which is why we're all aligned here. Our people say, I'm making money, but I have nothing to show for it. And that really does seem to make people feel like a lot of shame, and there's so much heaviness on it. And we want to flip that script. We're going to tell you about budgeting. We're going to make it simple. We're going to teach you how to separate things so that it's really clear and easy. And then listen, this is the one, Michelle. We're going to automate it because, listen, you do not need to be wasting your time actually going through doing anything manually. We're going to teach you to let your bank be your personal assistant and run your budget for you.
Amazing. Where do I sign up? Tell me all the things.
So the first step in all this is to create a budget where you can see everything on one page. When we first came together, we were using other people's budgets for our clients. And then we said, you know what, let's try to partner with these very smart people that already have budgets created, like on Etsy or Google or Amazon. They're already successful in creating a budget. Let's try to partner with them. And Michelle, when we looked at them, they were awful. They had all these charts and they were requiring you to track everything and write every expense down for the month. And we didn't want to do that.
I had words like fixed and variable and
wants and needs, fixed and variable, all these boy words. And we did not have time to track. That's not what we wanted to do. That wasn't our idea of a budget. And so we actually hired a designer to build our own. And it is beautiful.
Yeah.
Girl, it was a lot of fun. It's beautiful. It's airy. It's easy to read. And so what it allows you to do is to be able to see all of your numbers written out, clearly organized on one page.
Yeah, we were just talking to a client that graduated, and she's like, when I started working with you guys, it was the first time I ever knew how much I actually make in a month and how much I cost in a month. Because what's happening, Michelle, is we're in this modern time where you have about 3 times as many bills as your parents or your grandparents did. There's just more subscriptions. There's more opportunities for your money to go a different direction. Yeah. And like there's credit cards, and then there's Venmo, and there's PayPal. Everything is so complicated and overwhelming. And cluttery. And so what we wanted to do is give you a chance to see everything on one paper. And so our budget, like Vanessa said, it has the income column. Like, how about, let's see how much actually you make every month. And that's a good number. We like to look at your debt minimums only. We like to start there. What are we paying on debt? How much is the minimum? And so it's slowly going to subtract from that income number. The next thing is bills. Bill is anything with a due date. It's very simple. But a lot of times in other budgets, they mix in things like groceries because it's a need, but that's not a bill. And that's not how you behave with your money. So we want to see all of your bills in one column. And that's really good for you to see. Sometimes this is the first time you've seen that I have Spotify and Prime Music and Apple between this household. And I probably don't need all of those, right? So it's a great little reminder. And then the other parts of the budget are spending and savings. And that's what makes the way that we want you to budget better, because it actually matches what you do in real life.
Yes. Okay. So is this pretty budget? Is that something that people can get? Do you have that? Is that like on your website that they can purchase, or is it part of a whole system? Or
Yeah. They can go to budgetbesties.com/Michelle G, right? And the other thing about it, Michelle, it does the math for you. Super important. There are check boxes that when you click it, it dims out and crosses it out.
And it's really only for the bills because, again, we're not tracking your everyday expenses. That's not what we're doing.
Check boxes. I personally love checking and crossing stuff off my list. So
love
we added that.
check
And
boxes. Even if I do it after, I
Yeah.
still write it,
Yeah.
cross
you have
it
to
off.
add it.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
And even the husbands who
Yeah.
use our system say, this thing is really pretty to look at. It's so nice and clean and crisp. And so it's not just for the girls, it's
Yeah.
for the dudes too.
Yeah.
But it's a really great way for you to have all of your money in one place.
Yeah. And see what's happening with your money. That's a lot of times I'm making all this money. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know where it's going. Let's look and see. When we do that, when we get it all on one paper, a lot of times people say, oh, I have more left over than I thought. As long as if I'm actually being honest, or they might start to see what the actual problem is, if it's bills, if it's spending, whatever. So the other part, so that's simplifying. We want it to be super simple. You can get your budget all on one page, and then we want to separate. And that's important because that is what's going to make it actually simple. You're going to have a separate account for your bills and then a separate account for spending.
Okay, that makes so much sense. I love that idea.
So that's really it's a new concept that a lot of people haven't even thought about yet. And so the first one is the simplify, which is putting everything on one paper. The second one, like Shana just said, is that separation. When you have one account doing all of the work for you and your checking account, it's so convoluted. It's so messy. There's so much going on. You don't know what's what. When you go to maybe buy groceries at the store, you're asking yourself, did the water bill come out? Did this come out? Did the track and field subscription come out? There's so many different things that you're trying to figure out what hasn't or has come out of the account to allow you to spend the money that you quote unquote see in there. But the reality is that you don't know. You don't know what's going on. And some people will just see that big number in the account and they think that they can spend it and they forget all the things that they have to come out throughout the month. So what we want you to do is have probably your main checking account that you're using now is going to stay as your bills account. Okay, so we want to think of it as a funnel. Your income comes in, all this money goes into your bills account, and anything that's staying there is just to pay for your bills and your minimum debt payments. And then we want you to open up a separate checking account, girl, and this is where the magic happens, for your spending. Your spending needs to be completely separate. And because it has some guardrails around it and allows you to say, okay, I'm allocating all of this for my bills and my debt payments, and all of this over here in a separate account that's where you live in your budget, where you swipe a card, where you tap, that is all your spending. And so you're separating that so you can clearly see how much you have to spend on gas and groceries and date night and things like that.
One thing I found on there last month was that my kids had been using it and I had $204 over the course of a month at Culver's alone, not to mind other ice cream charges and things like that. Like, what? Because I'm not looking.
And
right?
I think that's the part of the problem, and we're on Overwhelmed Working Woman, is because you don't have time. You have not yet found time to figure out how to figure this out, which we get. And you need a system that does it for you. First of all, we're not like super huge about debt or getting out of debt or like going on rice and beans or whatever. But we know that you make enough money that you don't need to rely on credit cards, and that a credit card balance is not a budget. So what we actually the same client I was just talking about, we just got off talking with her. Her kids have their own spending accounts. She gives them a little bit of money each month. And when they go to Culver's, they can go to Culver's, but they have an amount, and that actually teaches them how to budget too. And it's the same concept for you. You would have a spending account and you would have money in there, and it goes in there. And that's a third part of our system is automate. Your bills account would automatically send money into your spending either every week or every 2 weeks for you. That way you always have spending money, but also it helps you to stick, like Vanessa said, to some sort of guardrail. It's whatever you want. We want you to be bougie in a budget. It doesn't mean you can only get $5 or $20. You can do whatever you want, but at least you know how much you have to spend, and it's completely separate from your bill. That's all taken care of. Like check in your mind, no clutter, no anxiety. I know that's good. And then I have money over here to spend. But what's really important is then the rest of this, whatever I'm not spending because I'm not using a credit card, which has I can spend as much as I want kind of balance, then I can start saving for things that are important, which is what we want for you. We want you to be your own bank and have savings for those trips that you're going to take and be in charge of your money. And when you set this all up, you go from feeling like it's overwhelming, I don't want to, and then it's all running without you having to do anything.
Yeah, because what you were doing is you're basically a month behind, right? So you're swiping the credit card.
Exactly.
In the moment, you're swiping, then at the end of the month, you go to pay it off. So your debt balance is increasing, but the money in your bank sometimes could be decreasing, and people are spending both at the same time. They're swiping their debit card, they're swiping their credit card, and then they go to pay that credit card and they realize they don't have enough in the bank to cover it. And I'm not saying that's you, but that's just what we've seen in the past. And it puts them in a place that doesn't really feel great. Because with using a credit card, it's just like that bank account. It's got a million transactions and it's just going up. And there's no way to really put some guardrails around saying, you know what? I love having spending money for myself. But in order for me to want to be wealthy, in order for me to want to continue and be successful with my financial goals, with what I want in my life, I know I need only cap it at $400 a month or whatever that looks like for you. Again, everyone's budget's different. So being able to have a spending column in your budget where you live at, right? So that's where all the swiping happens. That's where everything happens. Being able to stay and live in there and to let everything else happen, like your bills being paid and your savings building, that is really what's going to give you peace of mind when you go spend money.
Yes, because otherwise it's just a mystery. And then that mystery is just constantly hanging out in my brain and taking up space that doesn't need to be taken up. And my kids do have their own spending accounts and they have my card for emergencies. Like
ice cream
Culver's.
an emergency.
That's definitely an emergency for a teen.
Yeah, but my point is I didn't know that they'd had this emergency because I don't look until it's actually due. And then I pay the whole thing out of my account and there's no tweaking or maybe I shouldn't have done that. If I hadn't looked and I just paid it off, I would have been like, oh, that was a pricey month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we liken it to an ostrich with their head in the sand. I don't have time or I don't really want to figure this out. So I'm just going to swipe it off and we'll figure it out later. Like a future.
Going to do the thing now. And
the cool thing about what we want you to do is, as we said, all of this can run automatically. So it's not like when we were talking about how we wore pink today at our gyms, right? It's not like when you set a goal on January 1st and you have to go to the gym January 1st, and then you have to go again January 2nd, and then you have to go again January 3rd. And you're like, you have to keep finding the willpower to get up in the morning and go. With your budget, set it up once, and then it runs automatically. It runs for you. You don't have to rely on your willpower. You don't have to rely on you, because we know truly the more often you're in it doing things and fiddling with things, the more you're going to mess it up. So we help you set it up to fund or pay your bills automatically, fund your spending automatically, and start stacking up your savings automatically.
Our goal is to make your budget as consistent as possible. And I know some people will say, I can't because I'm a business owner and things are so inconsistent. But trust me, you name the business, we've probably worked with it. I have a multi-million-dollar lawn care company who you can imagine in the summer, their income is astronomical. In the winter, it's super low. Now they're a month ahead in their business and everything is consistent. But you just take some work, and it really just takes looking at your numbers. So what we want you to do is find a way to make your budget as consistent as possible so that you can set up all these automatic transfers so you don't have to do it. You don't have to touch it. Everything is funding itself. My husband gets paid every Wednesday, Thursday mornings. Everything gets funded, and I didn't lift a finger because I took this small amount of time at the beginning to set up my system.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think a couple of things that are coming to mind is, even if you are making enough money to cover your bills, how does it benefit a person to still have a budget? So let's just say you don't have a budget and you're just making it work all the time. Like, why should that person still have a budget? What does it buy you?
It's actually so much more fun to make a budget with people that have a lot of money and that can afford everything. So it's not just for those that are living paycheck to paycheck. It's also for those that have an abundance of money. Shayna has an amazing client. Believe he was a financial advisor of some sort. And they had so much money, but everything, as much that was coming in was going out at the same time because they just weren't organized. And now with the amount of money he was getting in bonuses, she's almost a year ahead planning in all of her savings buckets and everything that they were trying to achieve. But it just really took sitting down, looking at the numbers and organizing it.
A budget is not just your bills. And that is why we created our budget. That is what people think is their budget. But what you actually do in a month and in a year, that is all part of the budget, which includes groceries, which includes spending money, which includes trips and travel, which includes travel sports. That's just us. Sorry, we're in the middle of it. Like, it includes your gym membership. It does also include saving for the insurance because you pay it 6 months at a time. It includes saving for Christmas. That is where we get mixed up, because there's a lot more to a budget than just your bills. And that is not just your bills. And if you are making enough just to pay your bills, is that what you're doing? You just want to go to work so you can just pay your bills? No, we don't. We know you want more for your life than that. And that's why we want you to put think about all of this into your budget so that like we said, we want you to be bougie on a budget, but it has to start with actually doing a budget, right?
Yeah, people forget that your budget is not just for the everyday essentials. When we talk about the savings section of our budget, we're talking about making a line item for annual bills, because guess what? That's coming, whether you want it to or not. That HOA fee, that your auto insurance, your homeowner, property taxes, homeowners insurance, that's all coming. So that needs to be put in your budget, and it needs to be just as important as your monthly mortgage bill. And then we need to talk about your child's birthday presents that are going to come sometime throughout the year. Let's talk about that travel that's going to come up during spring break, medical copays, right? Those oil changes that are going to come up for your vehicle, those water filters, air filters, all of that you have with home maintenance, the flowers that you know you're going to buy in the spring. Your budget should be a picture of you, like a snapshot of you in a year. And so when people buy our system, we have all of that in there for you to set up exactly what that looks like. And yes, maybe at first you have some debt, so you can't fill all your savings buckets, but the end goal, like a lot of people will come to us at coaching, I want to do all the savings buckets things that you talk about. I want to do them now. I'm like, yeah, but you can't, because you don't have the wiggle room in your budget because you're paying on debt. But eventually, when that client graduated, she was saving $2,000 a month in her savings buckets to be able to fund her future. So when Shayna's talking about that your budget is not just for the essentials or for your bills, it's for your whole life. And you need to make sure that you incorporate that in your budget on a monthly basis.
And I know we just talked a lot. Let me just say, once you do all of this, you're going to feel so free. All, like you said, Michelle, all the things that are in your brain that you need to be thinking about budgeting, it's all going to be in your budget. And all you have to do is like, hey, I have $1,000 in my groceries account. I have $500 in my spending. What am I going to do? That's all you have to do for your budget. Once you get it set up, is just live in the spending zone, because everything else is happening. And that's what we want for you, because the budget actually gives you permission to spend. It gives you freedom, and freedom also from that clutter. So I just wanted to add that little bit in there.
Yes, I love this. I love this approach so much. It feels like it was designed by women who are just living a real, regular, good life. And it's for all of us. I love that. You mentioned something about the bank, like doing the budgeting for you or something like that. What was that?
So that's the automation part of our budgeting system. So we talked about making it simple, separating it, and then automating it. So your bank actually has a lot of tools in there to be able to automate your budget and set up transfers and reoccurring transfers. So that way, once you look at your budget and you know your numbers and, okay, every paycheck, I need this much for gas and groceries. I have this much going for my annual bill savings bucket. I'm going to give my kids this much a month to be able to spend on whatever they want.
Ice cream emergencies.
Yeah, once you have all that set up, you can actually transfer all of this into the separate accounts automatically on payday. So you don't have to do any of it. So you take your budget and you transform it into a living thing in your bank app using the automatic transfers.
Okay, perfect. I love that. The less things I have to think about, the better.
And a little bit of part of that is your bank. You can have more than one bank account. We've alluded to that. You can rename them. Vanessa said you can set up the automatic transfers. The bills can be paid automatically. Your direct deposit goes in. The bills go out. The transfers are happening. It's like a machine. It's your personal assistant.
Yes, I love that. That's so great. Okay, I'm ready to sign up for the budget. So if people feel the same way, where should they go? And then I have 2 more questions for you guys. But just while we're on this topic, if somebody's feeling super motivated, I really need to do that. Where should they go?
Yeah, so they can go to budgetbesties.com/Michelle G. If they are like, look, this system is for me. That's what I want. If you want to go to a free masterclass, you can go to budgetbesties.com/automate to learn more, get your feet wet a little bit more, and just understand our full system.
Yeah. And also we have our podcast, Financial Coaching for Women. You can add that after in your to-do list after Overwhelmed Working Woman. Add that in there because we're there too. We're in the same app.
Amazing. And also a top 1% podcast. You guys don't want to brag, but it's not just a podcast. It's a very successful one. So I'm sure you've got tons of great info on there. So yes, go take a listen. Okay, here are the questions that I ask everybody. What is something that you do if you feel overwhelmed to make yourself feel better?
Nap. I need to tell you that I have 3 kids and I learned how to nap on demand by the 3rd one because my husband was gone for a year and I was all by myself. So a nap literally resets your brain. And like, I will be so stressed or overwhelmed right before. And I come up and I'm like, everything's not so bad. But also we live at the beach. So we have that cheat code. We can go to the beach anytime and it literally transforms you. And then lastly, we go for walks all the time. We will be in the business thick of it, Michelle, and be like, we need to go for a walk. This is awful. I'm so scared. I don't know what to do next. Let's go for a walk. And it all works out.
Let's start moving our bodies. Somehow that works.
Yeah.
What beach do you guys live near?
So we live in a little town called Navarre. And so that is our lovely little beach that we go to. And it's very close.
Yeah, we're here in Florida. So
Oh,
the
that's
Panhandle of Florida.
awesome. So you have the beach and you can actually go to it all year round. Cold
Yes.
East Coast
And we
beach.
have those
Not the
sandy
big
white
thing.
beaches, and it's
that
absolutely
is
beautiful. We live where
awesome.
people vacation. We're very blessed.
That is awesome. Okay. All right. And then the other question, what is something that you do to save time?
Delegate. Okay, so I'm like an OCD control freak as far as I just want to do it. I'll just do it. I'll just take care of it. I'll handle it. But the older I got, the older I am, and the more busy we've gotten with our business and the kids and stuff, I think for me, it has been delegating out what I don't need to do myself. And then also taking a hard look at what I was doing and asking, is that really important? Does that actually have to get done? Or is that just something in my brain that's telling me that you have to do this? So I think those two things paired has really helped me just figure out what's important and only stay focused on what matters.
That's so great. And that's hard to do. I always talk about it as either doing B- work, meaning it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, or letting someone else do it. And then with the asterisk, when someone else does it, you have to let it be done the way
Yes.
that they did it. That can be the hardest part, especially when you outsource things to kids.
For
I'll be
sure.
going to get my shake cup that I use, and I'll be like, okay, Oliver emptied the dishwasher. So where would he have put I know where it goes, but where did he put the lid? But
Right.
at least it's done, right?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least it's
Yep.
done. Yes, exactly. It was so great to meet you ladies, and that was such a fun time. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to be sure to say, or did we cover all the points?
Michelle, we will keep talking. Don't let
Yes.
us do that. But we do. The thing that we would say is there's no shame, no judgment. You don't know what you don't know. We know you're busy. So give yourself grace to let this be something that you just take a minute to learn and figure out, set it, then forget it. Like you don't have to completely forget it, but forget all the stress for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think just getting coaching on anything, it feels vulnerable because you have to admit, I have a problem and I need help with it. And I'm sure you guys get the same thing. Everyone who comes to me is, you're not going to believe this. My life is such a mess. And then they tell me, and I'm like, you and everybody else. This is not, we always feel like we're so alone if we're having a problem. So I love that you said that. Like you guys said, I saw on your website, you've helped hundreds of people over time. So you've literally heard everything.
Yes.
And you're non-judgmental and you just want to help people. So I love that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we tell people, I guarantee we've heard worse. That's literally.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, like I said, whether they're paycheck to paycheck or have so much money in the bank or whatever, they're single, married, doesn't matter. They just don't know what they don't know. And just being able to equip them with the knowledge, information, and tools that they need to be able to take that and be successful in the future. Like, it's just so much fun to be able to watch.
Wasn't that a fun interview? I really liked that one. It's so nice. Like, what a good job perk that not only do I get to help my audience learn things, but I myself get to benefit from learning these things. So if you're interested in checking out their budgeting system, go to budgetbesties.com/Michelle G. I did buy the budget system myself and I have gotten started on it and I really like it so far. I really value something that is A, simple, and B, pretty and easy. So check it out, and we'll put the other links in the show notes as well if you just want to learn more about their system. I hope your new year is off to a great start. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Overwhelmed Working Woman podcast. If you want to learn more about my work, head over to my website at michellegothier.com. See you next week.